Hello, and color with me. Hi, my name is Geneva. I am a psychic medium and a universal channel. I go by the alias Angelic Rainbow Oracle. Why? Because I like the name. That's what I like. So that's what I did. And this is just banter. Usually I do a morning musings. Today was my day off, and I'll be honest with you, I slept through the morning because I have been so dog tired. The energy has been super just ungrounded and weird and draining. So if you're seeing this and you have not just read the collective reading, go read the video. Should be posted before this one because it's posting while I'm recording, so you know. Go listen to that. Might give you a little bit of insight and a little bit of hope. Excuse me. But yeah, I thought, hey, I'm gonna show you guys my awesome gel pen set that my husband got me for Christmas. It has 60 gel pens, and this is my current work in progress. So I have this thing where, look, I'm not perfect. I want to say, please remember when you guys are watching content, regardless of where you're watching it, that most people edit their stuff. I don't, because I'm not tech savvy. But most people edit their stuff to make themselves look better than they are, or to erase their mistakes, things like that. Just please, let's come back into reality a little bit. I think that people are starting to really lose touch with reality in a lot of different ways, and it's starting to get a little concerning. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it is not doing you any favors if you are constantly comparing yourself to other people, or assuming that what you're seeing on the internet is an actual standard of life, okay? I'm gonna be so honest with you, most of those people, and they'll tell you themselves, they cherry pick, you know. You don't want to put a bunch of not good looking content of yourself on the internet. So a lot of people, you know, that content is curated, and I think that when we forget that a lot of the stuff that we see is not like reality, like they're showing you the best snippets, most practiced versions of their day, okay? Most people. And what that means is that what they're leaving out is the breakdowns. What they're leaving out are the parts where they turned the camera off and they threw a temper tantrum and cussed and screamed and yelled and threw a pillow against the wall. They're omitting the parts that don't look good, and what that is, okay, is basically a version of repressing the shadow. Okay, so we talk about the shadow a lot. And what is the shadow? Okay, the shadow is more or less the parts of you, of your psyche, that you, through survival or through shame, regret, guilt, whatever it is, have repressed of yourself. It is the parts of you that scream at injustices and that you swallow. It's the parts of you that know that you are being inauthentic and fighting against that you try to silence. It's all of the versions of you that you have tried to kill off, basically. And a lot of time what the shadow actually is the okay, I'm getting like a Moana reference. So like when the goddess Tafiti, I think it was Tafiti, is the volcano person, okay? And she's forgotten who she is and all of that. And then Moana gives her back her little heart stone, her heart, and she transforms back into who she really is, okay? Um, wow. Okay, so we're going into kind of a channeled message here. I wasn't expecting that, but hey, let's continue with it. All right, so that's what they're giving me, and what they're saying is that a lot of the energy that you're feeling right now, those of you guys who are sensitive to the energies, have been feeling things shift, you're feeling ungrounded. Think of it as, for much of your life up until this point, you have been like the volcano version of Te Fiti. I can't remember. I know it has a name, but I can't remember it. Just don't come for me. All right. So for all of this time, you have been without certain pieces of your core, your heart space. For whatever reason, it was trauma. You were not given your needs were not met, whatever it was. You brought it in from a past life. Look, there's lots of different ways that this stuff happens, okay? And so for whatever reason, humanity as a whole, many people in humanity, they're like that version of Te Fiti, where she's lost that part of her heart, and without it, she cannot be her truest self. And so a lot of the energy codes that are currently coming in are energy codes that are the same as Moana putting the stone back in. They are an activation within the heart space that is meant to reactivate you at your core, at your heart space core, so that you can begin to embody the highest, truest version of yourself. And that is what's happening. That is why you feel tired. It's because you're recalibrating. It's no different than when you are practicing for a marathon, okay? You practiced and practiced and practiced, and you did it in little increments. So this whole time, you've been working on some version of yourself, some aspects of yourself internally, where you've looked at it and said, you know what, I'm tired of not having friends. I'm tired of being alone. I want to heal what this is. And you haven't really quite been able to figure it out, okay? So what you've been doing this whole time is you've been trying different things. You've been trying to heal different things. You've been trying to create different connections. You've been trying on different versions of yourself, maybe. You've been doing all of these things that have led you to this moment. And in this moment, you are and think of it as if your vessel was a gigantic database and your bones held tiny little crystals that stored all of the information in your DNA, in your bone structure of everything that you ever were and ever will be. Okay, at the truest genetic innermost versions of yourself, and we're talking about DNA coding back millions of years, okay, from the time before time. Alright, that's what I sometimes call it. It's the time before time. And it is the time before our recorded history where there were beings, there were species, there were versions of humans, there were hybrids, there were all of these things. And somewhere along the line, this is what we are now. And some of those things have been being reactivated. You've been seeing it in your gifts where they've been heightening. You've been seeing it in your life day to day, where you have been more easily able to see things happening in your day to day that you might have missed before. Okay, so maybe you had a bad day and you said something, and all of a sudden you realize after you got home that where before you might not have thought about it very much. You might have gone about your business, said what you needed to say, just said what you need to say, and then gone about your business and not even thought about it again. But here's the thing, that version of you was a version who felt justified in everything they were doing and didn't stop and pause to think about the bigger picture, how the other person felt in the situation. What were the aspects of this that maybe I hadn't considered before? Was I fair? There was a level of self-awareness that you didn't have that you've been curating. And now that that level of self-awareness has been activated, what is happening on a very interesting that I went with pink. Anyways, what has been happening is you have been curating the space inside of your energy field to be able to activate these light codes at this time. There is no coincidence why the interstellar pieces of debris and the comets and whatever, there's none of this stuff is not happening for a reason. It's what I'm trying to get at. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. It is what it is. It is what it is. Humanity is currently experiencing the highest spikes in energy levels that we've ever experienced before. And a lot of people in the collective are feeling it on a very real body, mind level. It is pretty intense. And I just want you to know that you are not alone in whatever it is you're experiencing, that you should not be trying to repress these versions of yourself that are desiring to be heard. If you feel like coloring, and the reason why you don't color in a coloring book is because it's childish, maybe sit with that for a moment and ask yourself why it's childish to do something that brings you joy. Because it's not productive. I find it productive. It's productive in that it gives me time to pause and reflect and think. It gives me an outlet of creativity that is not judgmental or taxing. I can do it for as long as I want to. I can stop when I want to. There's nobody standing over my shoulder telling me I'm doing it right or wrong. I can pull random colors and just place them wherever they go for no reason other than because I just want to see how it works out. Sometimes it looks amazing, sometimes it's not my favorite, but at the end of it, it's always significant in that is a reflection of time that I took to pause and take care of me, which is not something I've been very good at in my entire life. I have not always been very kind to myself, and as I get older, I start to realize that much of that judgment, that self-hatred, came from a place of woundedness that I didn't even realize I had. Why am I bringing all this up? Because maybe you guys are finally at the place, like I was, where you're tired of feeling like a victim all the time. You're tired of feeling like you're stupid. You're tired of feeling like nothing you do matters. You're tired of feeling like you give and people don't return it in the same way. You're tired of feeling like you just want to be heard, and maybe, just maybe, if I sit here and I tell you all of these things that maybe you've thought yourself a few times, maybe you'll be brave enough to buy a coloring book and a set of crayons, colored pencils, or gel pens. Maybe you'll finally give yourself the freedom to color without trying to dictate whether or not you're doing it the right or wrong way. Maybe if I show you that it's not the end of the world to take some time to make something that makes you feel good about yourself when you look at it, that makes you happy when you see it, that maybe you too will feel free enough to do that. Because the truth of the matter is that part of the reason why the world falls apart is because people can only sustain the facade of being perfect 24/7 so long until it all starts to eclipse. It starts to collapse because it's not real. Look, no matter how old you are, whether you are pre-internet or post-internet or you're baby internet, I want you to understand that perfectionism is not something to aim for. You aim for consistency. You aim for showing up even when you don't always want to sometimes. You aim for making small changes every day that lead to something being improved, but only by 1 or 2%. You don't have to be a different person tomorrow. It takes time and consistency and practice to change the way that you look at the world and the way that you present yourself in it. It takes time and consistency to change a perception that you're a victim. But you know what you can do? You can wake up one day and say, you know what, today I'm going to redirect some of my thoughts. I might not catch all of them, but when I notice that I'm spiraling, when I notice that I'm going to a place of darkness that I don't really want to go, I'm going to take accountability that these are my thoughts. And I'm going to say to myself, all right, you're allowed to feel how you want to feel, but we're going to put a time limit on it. We can be upset today, but we're not going to lash out at anybody. And after today, we're going to reflect on why we're upset. And we're going to put words to these emotions so that we can figure out how to navigate them. I've been doing readings for a long time now. A few years. I feel like that's a long time. I know for some of you guys that's not long at all. But for me, it feels like both very little and yet my whole life. Because even if I didn't exactly have cards, okay, forever, I have always been a person that others have asked advice of. I don't know why, because personally, I don't think that I have the greatest grasp of everything. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are gonna throw some haterade in the comments at some point. But I am somebody who pauses before I speak, usually. And I like to really consider all of the different aspects of a situation before I come to any kind of determination about it. Because I wasn't always like that. Okay? There have been times in my life where I have jumped to conclusions way more than I should have. I have accused people of things that they didn't do. I have put my foot in my mouth. And I have apologized for it. And I have felt like a dummy for it. And I have learned from it. My point being that the difference between growth and no growth is doing something, realizing that you did it, and doubling down on it. And doing something, realizing you did it, taking accountability and making amends. Doubling down when you know that another person is probably right about something. Doubling down at the risk of sacrificing relationships, sacrificing friendships, sacrificing marriages, sacrificing your identity, your very sense of self. Okay, at some point, The soul screams and says, why are you giving away everything that we are? Why are you pretending that we don't exist? Why all of these parts of you, your inner child, your inner teen, the part of you from your 20s that made regrettable decisions, they're all still very much a part of you, an active part of you. And most of the time, what our shadow is that part of us being ignored. That part of you that recoils when you pick up a coloring book and think to yourself, this is childish, and put it back down. So what? Even if it is, so what? Do you have an answer for that? Is there some reason why being childish means that you can't pick up a coloring book and color? No. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of being punished? Is there anybody around you? So is that a fear you can put to bed, maybe? Are you afraid that somebody's gonna make fun of you? You know what? There's gonna be somebody gonna make fun of you your whole life. Why? Because there's just some people that do that. And people that do that, I promise you, it's a greater reflection of them than it ever was of you. It's not about the coloring book. It's not about the colors. It's not about the pens. It's not about any of that. It's about pausing to do something just because it makes you happy. When was the last time that you did that? I mean, truly, when was the last time that you did that? When was the last time that you sat with your thoughts and light to yourself? And if you cannot remember, please start naming things about yourself that you like. You need to be your number one fan. You cannot count on everybody forever. People pass away. People leave. People change. People shift. And if you don't know who you are, and if you can't make space for yourself, then chances are that maybe you're seeking codependent relationships. Maybe you're making compromising decisions that aren't actually good for you out of desperation or misguided assumptions of others or of yourself. Maybe you don't think you deserve. I promise you that you do. You deserve more than you think. You deserve more than you'll ever allow yourself to have in some cases. The universe is always conspiring on your behalf. And whether you believe that or not, it doesn't actually matter. Because you don't have to believe it for the universe to still do it. It helps. It helps when you assist the universe by believing that it's always conspiring for your greatest good. But it's not always a necessity. You are a piece of a greater design than you could even comprehend. If you're seeing this video, it means that it means your spirit guides brought you here. So hi, and thank you to your guides. But two, it means that you're part of this shift. You are part of what's happening that so many people can feel, but they just can't put a name to. You're part of that energetically. It's part of why you're here. It's part of why you exist here at this time. And whether you are actively participating by shifting the grid work and opening portals, or helping other people through energy shifts, or, advising, in whatever capacity you, excuse me, have been guided to show up, it doesn't matter. The point is that you're here because you're supposed to be. And if you haven't believed that before, I need you to believe it now. Because the world is shifting and changing, and you are part of it, and you can experience it a lot of different ways. And it would be really beautiful if you could experience it in the way that makes you feel the best, in the way that makes you feel like you matter. Let go of who you've been told you needed to be, and start stepping into who you know you are. You have never needed permission to exist. You have never needed permission to speak. A lot of you guys have researched videos on light workers and on oracles and tarot, and you have this draw that you want to be part of something more. But the thing is that you already are. You don't have to believe it. It doesn't matter. You were a part of this shift before you even incarnated. You were a part of the shift before you even knew what it was. You are part of the shift even if you do not believe a single bit of what I'm saying, and you are cursing me down in the comments. It doesn't matter. Spirit knows who you are, what you are capable of, even when you do not believe it yourself. But it is time to believe. It's time to start letting go of all of your preconceived notions of what you deserve, and start accepting and believing in yourself and the opportunities as they present themselves to you. Okay? Opportunities to prove to yourself and to the world that you've changed. Opportunities to prove to yourself and the world that you understand what it's like to be on that side of it. Your voice matters now more than ever, because maybe you're the only person that speaks up about a certain thing. Maybe you're the only person brave enough to point out when things are wrong. Maybe the reason why you have experienced hardship is because you really are the person that's meant to break the cycle. And maybe you learn how to do that by integrating your shadow a little at a time. Because when you integrate it, it doesn't have control over you anymore. When you start to fully accept and embody yourself, your choices, even when they're not great, and that's the hardest part. That's the part I see people struggle with the most, is the idea that you have to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, you need to shove it to the side. You know what? Perfection, if there is such a thing, would be built out of failures. It would be built out of experiences, and wherein you didn't reach the desired goal, and you continued to try until you did. That is how you would achieve perfection if it were a concept that were achievable. So why are you cutting yourself off at the knees before you even really get started? Why are you telling yourself that you are incapable when you so clearly are capable? I used to have a nightmare quite often, and it was a nightmare where I would sign up to go back to school, and I would have my class list in my hand, and I would get lost in the hallways, and I could never find my classes. And I remember just like going through endless hallways, back to the office, endless hallways. And each time I would go back to the office, they would be meaner and meaner, and I would be looked at like I was an idiot. And this nightmare was literally part of this fear that I have had since I was younger, that I was stupid because I just couldn't figure everything out. I would not take opportunities as they were presented to me because I was afraid that I was incapable of learning what I needed to learn in order to succeed. I really let a lot of good things pass me by because of my inner lack of self-worth and confidence. And I don't want to see other people repeat that. You know, that's part of why I do this. That's part of why I do my readings. By the way, you guys can always reach out in the comments. Let me know if you're interested in a reading, and I will touch base with you because I do personal readings. But anyways, you don't have to live your life letting opportunities pass you by just because maybe at some point you didn't make the best choices. I think that we can really be our own worst enemy, and that a lot of times when we know we've made a mistake, or we know that we've, for me it's showing my butt, sometimes we will let that debilitate us in the future for years. We will let our subconscious hold on to our fear until it literally festers over into our waking world and impacts us negatively. And it's not necessary to do that anymore. I promise that whatever it is about yourself that you have been avoiding, I promise you that it is something that you can overcome. I promise you that it is something that one day you're going to find strength in the story of. I promise that one day it will inspire you and others, but only if you keep going. Only if you share it. Only if you build it. Not everybody has to get on the internet and talk. Some people share their gifts simply by existing in their own light, living authentically, and being an example of what the universe can give you if you choose yourself. If you choose authenticity and clarity over comfort sometimes, because it's not comfortable at first to be authentic in a world that does not reward authenticity, especially these days. But that's why it matters so much right now, because of what's happening in the world right now. That's why it matters to voice your truth and to realign with your heart space. That's why this activation is happening at this time, because it's really what the world needs most. I'm going to leave you with that. And I really, really hope that you find peace in whatever way, in whatever capacity you are able to each day. Little Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. Tomorrow will always be another day and another opportunity to greet it with love and with self-care, compassion, empathy, and strength. Because you matter. Your opinions do matter. Although, make sure that they're educated and keep an open mind, because sometimes, like I said, don't double down. Okay? It's okay to acknowledge that maybe you've made a poor choice, or you've supported the wrong things, or that you maybe didn't understand something, and it's okay. But be accountable. Okay? You can change every day. But be accountable for the choices that you make. Be accountable for the choices that you've made. And understand that yes, you have free will in every way, shape, and form. But free will does not mean free of consequence. And your decisions are the things that you will need to live with. So make sure that they're things that you don't have to regret, okay? I just got Robin Williams as Genie. Be yourself. Aladdin. Love Robin Williams. Miss that man. God, miss that man. So many legends. Alright, guys. You guys have a great night. I hope that this didn't bore you too much. And, yeah, be on the lookout for our next reading or our next morning musing. Love you. Bye.